Welcome. Praise the Lord. Today we're going to hear about the best practices for organizing computer files. We often say the expression in linguistics that bookkeeping is better than brains. If you don't know what that expression means, I want you to pause this video now and discuss it with your group. In fact, it'd be good just to pause the video and discuss it, whether you think you know it or not. Now that you've discussed that, I want to give you some tips on working with computers and keeping files organized on computers. The first item says that you are not to use the project computer to add your personal files. Do not add personal files to the computer that you are using. The agreement that you signed to use the computer says that you will not add personal pictures, videos, or other documents to the laptop or the desktop that you are using. For example, you may have a friend in town who says he needs you to type up a document for him. Maybe your pastor says that he needs an announcement done for the church, and he's looking to you to do it. You can tell them that you are not permitted, that there's a strong rule at your office that you are not permitted to do that, but you can offer to help them. Maybe you can spend a few kwacha and help them find a place in town that will do it for them. But it's important that your computers are kept clean and that you do not add your own personal things to them. That's several reasons for this. One reason is that as you put flash drives from other sources into your computer, viruses will enter. Viruses are something in a laptop or a file that you can't see them. You may just think it's a single Word document that somebody is asking you to work on a computer, but that Word document can have a virus hidden inside of it. The other thing that comes to mind is that we don't want your computer's hard drive filling up. So if you put pictures, videos especially, these things take up a lot of space, and your computer works well when your hard drive is half empty. The second thing is we want you to not store many documents or spreadsheets on your desktop. Now, when you say desktop in the computer world, we don't mean the surface of the table where you're working, but we mean this area, and I'll show you my desktop. This is actually just part of my desktop because you can't see all of it, where I have icons that are stored. I've taken a picture here of my desktop so I can show you the entire desktop. Let me just show you a couple tips about organizing your desktop. In the top left-hand corner, I put documents that I use very frequently. I often need a blank document if I want to start a new Word document, so I just have a document that I call blank. Notice that's an icon. That's really not a document. This little arrow in the bottom left corner of the image shows that this is an icon. Here's my to-do list. I'm always looking at things to do. I have a list of things that I need to buy, maybe some equipment for the project. These are things that I use very frequently here. Then over towards the middle on this side, I have some folders. These aren't documents, but these are folders, and I've got a group of them that I use frequently. Here's one for the Kunda project. Here's one for the Tokolea project, and some other things that I do. Notice at the bottom right, I've got the recycle bin. I put that down here because I don't want to mistakenly drag anything in it. I kind of have it at the bottom right, kind of like a trash bin you might find at the far corner of the room. On this side, I have some tools. I have my calculator. I've got a stopwatch, a timer, photo resizing tool. I put some of these tools that I use together here. Here are some other tools that I use for video and audio editing. Some miscellaneous files kind of scattered around, but notice there's a good amount of space between them. I want to show you how you can arrange the items on your desktop. I can click on this item and drag it wherever I want it to go, but that depends on how you've set your desktop. If I put my cursor on a blank spot on the desktop, and then if I right-click the mouse button, a menu will appear. And this menu allows me to choose some options. I can click on View. I can view the icons on the desktop. I can make them to be large, like that, or I can make them to be medium size, the way I had them. So you can choose the view here to choose large, medium, or small icons. You can also tell your desktop to sort your icons by name. I don't want them to choose by name. I want to organize them the way I want them to be on my desktop. But if I picked name, then every icon on the desktop would then be organized according to the name that I gave it. And once I choose that, I can't undo it. Or I could choose them by the size. That's not the size of the little image, but I think that would be the size of the folder or file that it represents. Or by type, or by date modified. I'm putting my cursor again in the middle of the desktop in a blank space, and I'm going to right-click on the mouse button. This menu appears, and I'm going to choose Personalize, and this allows me to choose a solid color for my desktop. I could choose a picture, but those things are distracting. I find a solid color, such as this rose color that I have, as what I prefer to choose because I don't want to cause a lot of distraction on my desktop. And I close this window by clicking on the X here. It's important that you do not store many documents or spreadsheets on your desktop. Let me show you what I mean. On my desktop, there are actually no documents shown here. These are all icons. Let me type that word icon for you so you know what I mean. An icon. An icon is a small image that represents something else. In some churches, they worship icons, and we don't believe that's in the Bible. You shouldn't worship images, but some churches actually do, unfortunately, worship icons. In any case, here on my desktop, these are all icons. You can tell that by the small arrow there. Now I do have, and that's the best thing to do, you shouldn't store documents or spreadsheets on your desktop. Let me go back to that picture of my desktop. I do have one or maybe two documents. This is one of them here, and then this one is another one that actually are documented. This is a document and this is a spreadsheet. And the reason I do that is because I'm often sending this document to other people. And rather than having to navigate to it through the icon, I could just keep those two on my desktop. But generally, you want only icons on your desktop. These are icons. Here's an icon for a program. Here's another icon for a program. The paratext one is an icon for the program. But just to be clear, you do not want to store the actual program or the actual document or spreadsheet or those types of things on your desktop. Okay, the next important thing is that you file things immediately or at least once a week. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Maybe somebody gives you a document or somebody gives you a spreadsheet on a flash drive. Or maybe translator number 1 makes an oral recording of 5 verses of the Bible that he recorded on his computer. You should immediately put that in its proper place. Many times I will just save things to my documents. But if I do that, at least once a week, I should go through that folder and put things in their proper folder. You also want to delete any unnecessary files and make it a regular practice to organize your folders before they get too messy. If you wait to file things, they'll get out of hand. So as soon as you create or receive a file, put it in its proper place. That's important. Let me show you how I would. When you're working with files, here's an example of a folder. If I click on it, the folder is empty. So any folders that are empty, I can click back here to go back there, and I can delete empty folders. I like using the check boxes, and let me show you what I mean by that. Using Windows Explorer, I click on the View tab. I have this clicked Item Checkboxes. If you click that, this little box will appear. You can click all the folders, everything that's appearing in that folder, or you can choose a simple thing. I know this particular folder, for example, is empty. I've already checked it, so I'm going to click on it, and I'll just choose Delete. Here's another folder, VideoPad Projects. This was created not by me, but by a program. If I click on it, I see it says this folder is empty. So I can go back by using this arrow, or I can just click on Documents here, and I go down to that folder, and I delete it. I've noticed a couple folders that I want to move over under my videos. Here's another folder called Zoom. Again, it says empty. So delete any folders that you find that are empty. You want to store, instead of storing things on your desktop, you want to store them under Documents. Sometimes this is called My Documents. But if I click on there, these are the folders that I have under My Documents or Documents. I have a Bible and Journal. I have a Business folder. all kinds of business information under that. I have one for computers, internet, and printers. I have one for email, language and training programs, mail, ministry, miscellaneous, mission agencies, my Outlook files, projects, studies, education, resumes, and workers. You'll notice that all these fit on one screen. Ideally, you want all your subfolders, this is the folder documents, and all the subfolders to fit on one screen. If you have too many, let me show you like this. If I click on business, you see that it goes down it goes past the screen. There's more than what can be shown on one screen. But ideally, you only want the number of folders that will show on one screen. If I click on projects, again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 folders on projects, and they all fit on one screen. You'll notice that there's this folder called individual projects. If I click on that, then I have the Batwa project, the ELA project, the Myogo project, and other projects there. If I put all of these together under projects itself, it would go on one screen. But I want to organize things into folders and subfolders. So again, get in the habit of making folders and subfolders. And underneath of subfolders, you can have even more subfolders. It can both be, there's no reason for it to be subfolders. And it can go farther down again to another level, subfolders. Don't forget also to organize your downloads. Don't just keep downloading things from the internet, and it's important that you file them where they belong or delete them. Just take a glance at the subfolders. Here's my documents. And here's my downloads. And you can see that those need to be organized as well. Another tip is to use, this is very good, this is very important, is that you would use good descriptive file and folder names. When you're naming your files, this is important. Give them good descriptive names. If you call something marketing plan, that would be a bad name. It's too vague. It would be better if you say instead the 2021 January marketing plan for Mr. Piri or client X. That will enable you to find your folders and your documents much faster if you give them proper names. You notice we put the year first with a space, then the month, and then the name of the folder, and then any other specifics after that. It's very important. Use the search feature. I gave you an example previously, but let me pull this Windows document over, and you'll see it's different on different computers, but I have this space right here where I can search documents, and I can type in here 2020 December, and if I put a quotation marks at the end and the beginning, and then click on this blue arrow, it will give me all the folders that have started with 2020 December. And it's searched all of the subfolders. You notice it's on all subfolders here. If I wanted to click for everything I did in, let's say, October of 2020, and I hit return, now I have all the folders that have 2020 October in them. Some of them are not, this has it in the title, but this one would have it inside the document. So this search tab is very powerful, and you should learn to use it in Windows Explorer to find your folders. But that all depends on you giving them the proper names, giving both your documents, your spreadsheets, your audio files, whatever it may be, a proper name. We already talked about this. You should use subfolders and keep your folders on one screen. You shouldn't have to scroll down very far to see all of the folders. Don't use too many folders. If you've got just a folder with, if you have 10 different folders, but each one only has 2 or 3 items in the folder, it's better that you reconsider your structure. Let me give you an example. I'm going to navigate under My Documents and go to Projects and Projects Individual. And I'll choose the Kunda project, and I'll open that by clicking on it. And you can see here that I have a number of folders for the Kunda project. It starts with Anthropology, Audio and Song, Equipment for the Kunda project, Miscellaneous. There's a miscellaneous folder, that items in here that don't seem to fit under anything else. And it just fits, just big enough to fit on the screen. As we said, you don't want so many folders that you have to scroll down. If that's the case, if you have too many folders, you can't see them on one screen, then maybe you need to make some subfolders. Let me give you an example of subfolders. Here I have products in Kunda. Those are things that the Kunda project has produced. And if I click on products, now I have 3 subfolders: products that are scripture, products that are non-scripture, and then I have a folder for Proverbs. So consider the structure of your folders and subfolders if they're helping you. If you just have a bunch of documents, page after page after page of documents, you're not very well organized, and you need to put them into folders and subfolders. The last point I want to say is that this takes time to learn, and don't give up after just a few days of trying this. It's important that you commit yourself to using a better system, and it's very important that you continually follow this. Remember, we said above that if you receive a folder, you should put it in this proper place right away. Somebody may send you something either on a flash drive, or they may send you an attachment and email. Put it in its proper place right away. Rename it. If they don't give it a good name, you rename it, and try to encourage other people to give things good names. You might want to send it back to them and say, I looked at the document you sent me. I think it was a very good document. The only thing I did was I gave it a better name. I hope the name will be helpful to you as well. Okay, let's finish today by reviewing. I want to review. An organized computer is much more pleasant to use. And your computer will actually run better. If you can keep, you don't want to have 2 or 3 copies of the same document. on your computer. If you know where every file is stored, then it's no longer a nightmare when someone comes to you and asks you for a file, even if it's from 2 years ago. You'll know exactly where that folder is. You'll say, oh, that's under the translation consultant checking subfolder. So let's review. Do not add personal files to the computer you are using. Secondly, do not store many documents or spreadsheets on your desktop. File things immediately. Organize downloads. Don't forget to organize things in your download folder as well. Sort everything once a week. If you don't have time to organize things right away, take some time once a week to sort through things. The next tip was to use good descriptive file folders, file names, and folder names. Next, learn to use the search feature. The next thing we've said is learn to use subfolders properly. Organize things in a logical way so that you can keep them organized. But on the other hand, you don't want to have too many subfolders. And the last point is continue to practice these guidelines. Get your computer organized and keep it organized. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this short lesson of utilizing the best practices for organizing computer files.